picking up where we left off, the next thing I want to talk about is baseline grid. So I can come in, and mine is actually already on because I forgot to turn it off last time. I can actually turn my baseline grid on by clicking on the little arrow there. Um, and I could also do it by coming in view grids, and I can show high baseline grid, or I can actually hit command option apostrophe. But you'll notice that when I do that with mine, as I come back over here and do it from here to show you that the check mark is on, you'll notice that I don't see my grid. Well, the reason is because if you look at the percentage of my zoom on my document, you'll see that I'm at zoomed in at 50%. So if I hit Command K to launch my preferences or go up to InDesign preferences either, and then come down to grids, one of the things you'll notice is the view threshold. So the view threshold is how far I'm zoomed in order to see my document. So I'm going to actually come in and drop that down to 45 and click OK, and bang, there's my baseline grid. I actually have my full grid still there, so you can see that they get a little confusing, and a lot of that is because they're the same color, so by default it's hard for me to see what's going on. So part of the other thing, sorry, that I can see is that my grid is lined up to be about a half an inch or 3 picas from the top of my document, and that really doesn't do me a lot of good. I really want it to my margin. That's really what I want it to go to. So again, Command K to jump over and go to my preferences. I go to my grid. The first thing I can do is I can actually change the color of my grid line, and I'm going to do that, but unfortunately you can see that there is no preview. Kind of a drag. I wish that was there. The next thing that I want to do is I want to change the start for my baseline grid. I want it to be at 0, so I'm going to start it to be at 0. But right now it's relative to the top of my page, and I don't want that at all. I really want it relative to the top of my margin, so I want it to start at the very, very tippy top of my margin. And then by default, you'll have noticed that the grids in back was checked on. You'll notice on mine that it was checked off because I check it off. Essentially all that means is that if I drew something that was completely opaque, if the grids in back were on, that would hide the grid. It would come over on top of the grid and hide it. With turning it off, it allows me to put the grid on top of it. So I'm going to check that, and I'm going to click that off, and now you can see how much cleaner and organized my page looks. And I can turn my grid layer, sorry, I keep forgetting that it's out of the sight of the screen. Let me turn that back on, so you can see that there is what my baseline grid looks like, and then with my grid on my own layer that I can turn off and turn on, it allows me to show what's going on. Now, what I should have done, and I should have made sure, and I did, was that I was on my master layer. So I really wanted to be on my master layer when I did this. Now, when I come out and I start working on the actual document itself, I can actually be on page 2. So I'm actually going to just grab this from my earlier. I gotta unlock it first. That would help. There we go. And I'm just going to delete it right off the stage. And then I'm going to come in and I'm just going to grab my text tool, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to create a text frame right here. And when I do, that's going to give me the opportunity to come up under type and fill with placeholder text, and bam, I've got it filled with placeholder text. The thing that normally happens, and I don't know why mine didn't, is that it normally is 12 points with 14-point leading. And if I zoom in, and my quick zoom trick for you, I'll actually bring it into view for you. Oops, I hit it. Let me see if I can turn it back on for you. My quick zoom in trick for you is hold down the command key and hold down the space bar, and you'll get a quick zoom, and you can zoom in. You'll notice that what's happened here is that my type is not aligned to my baseline grid at all. I actually still had it turned on. And so you can see that it's a little bit off. My typography is a little bit off. Well, if I come back in, and because it's 12 points, and I actually reset this back, whoops, the wrong way, back to 10 point and to a 12 point leading, you will see that it automatically lines up nicely to my baseline grid. I'm going to actually hide my grid so that it's not getting in the way. There you go. So you can see that it lines up really nicely with my grid, and that's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of nice. And then now what that means is my text will always what we call bottom out. I want to make sure that it does that, so I'm going to actually highlight my text here, make sure I'm in my paragraph, and I want to make sure that the align to baseline grid is on. If I click it off by clicking on this guy here, you'll notice that it doesn't align to the baseline grid at all. It actually shifts and it's off that line. And the truth of the matter is we don't want that. We want to make sure that we align our text to the baseline grid. Now that doesn't mean that you don't break the grid with other text objects and change how it's, but for your body copy or for your continuous reading text, you want to make sure that that's aligned to a baseline grid to make it work for you. But what happens, as could be the case, where you have a weird baseline grid? How do you handle that? How do you solve that problem? Well, let me show you. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go into Command K, and I'm going to go into my grid, and I'm going to change my grid size to a 12.5 grid, and put that in place. And you can see that it has stayed aligned to the grid, which is what I want, even though I've got a different grid, and even though I've stayed with my 10 point and 12 point leading. But what did happen, once again, my quick keyboard shortcut, hold down Command Space Bar, and then I can zoom in on this particular area. You'll see that what happened is that it's not lining to the bottom of my text. In fact, I now have an overset text document. That's not going to change much because of how we change the document. But that's not what I really want to show you. I'm going to go grab my handy dandy text frame or frame object tool, and I like to use that to help me understand sizes. And so if I came over there, you can see that that is 10 points in height. So I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to delete it. I know that there is 10 points difference in my baseline grid when I shifted it from a 12 point to a 12.5. So I can solve that a couple of ways. One of the easiest ways for me to solve that is, and I think the easiest is Command K, go right back into my preferences, go right back in here, and then at my start point, I want to start my baseline grid at 10 points from the top. I click OK, and bang, you'll notice that it's now moved down. It starts, the top line is on the baseline, but it's only 10 points from here to here, and it's 12 points from here to here, and then continually down. But my bottom is nicely on the baseline, and that's awesome. I mean, I think that makes things a lot nicer and a lot more attractive, if you will, for me. The other option that I could do, I'm just going to go back into my preferences. Maybe I'm going to get the Beach Ball of Death. Sorry. There we go. And I'll go back to my grids, and I'm going to get rid of this so it's gone. Oh, don't think I did. Let's see that. I think I was too quick on the trigger. Let's see. I did not see. I'm just going to get rid of that and make that 0.0 again. Click OK, and you can see I'm back. When I scroll down, you can see that I've got 10 points here, but it's a little off. So the other option that I do have, if I so desired, is I could go back up to my layout, margins and columns, and distribute that between the pages 5 and 5. That's giving me an extra 5 points, and then now if I come in, I've added an extra 5 points to the top and the bottom, and my text lines to the bottom. Awesome. Great. The truth of the matter is, the way we really want to do this whenever we do something like this is I'm actually going to go back, and I'm going to go to my grid, and I'm going to change my baseline grid back to 12 points because that's what it was. No, not 1200. 12 points. I want to leave it at 0. I'm going to click OK. Now it's back. I'm actually going to grab my type here and select it all. I want to make sure that in my type that I've got 10 points, not 11 points. So you can see I got 10 point text, and I got 12 point. And then I'm going to go to my paragraph style here and make sure that I'm at aligning the baseline grid. When I do that, what I've done is I've done what's called local. And local means it's this only works for this page, this document that I'm working with, or this section that I'm working with. So the answer really is to create a paragraph style. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a new style. Sorry, I'm going to come in, I'm going to create a new style, which is going to give me my new dialog box. I'm going to call it body. And I'm going to come down to indent and sizing, and I want to align the grids to all lines. I click OK, and now I've got a body style that I can apply to any document as I go, any part of my document as I go along, and I can be sure that all of those attributes that I applied will be applied to it. And that's setting up and getting ready for your baseline grid. Thank you.